Good afternoon. Welcome to our TRiO SSS Student Success Panel. My name is Stephanie Beaver. Today we're going to hear from our different students of their different stories and hope that you can connect with one of the things that they've shared today. What the purpose of this panel is for students here today and also with the video that we're making to be able to learn some of the insights to students who've been there and experienced things that many of you actually go through. Everything from obstacles to overcoming challenges and just many of the experiences that students experience and face. Our goal is to hope that at least one of our students is someone that you can connect with, maybe a part of their story, and hopefully serve as motivation and inspiration for you as you continue throughout your educational endeavors. And so I invite our panelists just to say your name, if you have a major, or if you are undeclared, if you've graduated already, or if you're still a current student. Anything just briefly so people in the room kind of know a little bit about you.
I'm Philip Hardy.
I'm Dustin Costello. I'm a communication major here at Columbia College. I graduated in the fall of 2017. And I have really enjoyed my time here.
My name is Candace Han. Ooh, this is fun. I am a former student. I graduated here in spring of 2013. I'm a current graduate student at CSU Stanislaus, and my major is history.
My name is Brooke Nielsen, and my major is sociology, and I will be graduating at the end of this semester.
Hi everyone, my name is Pedro Rodriguez. I'm pursuing a degree in psychology. This is currently my second year, and I will hopefully be transferred by the end of next semester.
We have 6 questions that have been prepared for our panelists. Okay, question number 1, and we'll start with you, Phil, and make our way over this way. People come to college for many different reasons. What did coming to college mean to you?
Going to college meant for me specifically networking for career paths such as internships and other networking things. Making friends with some of the faculty and their related fields would have been my primary goal. A secondary benefit for me specifically is escaping Calaveras County. I don't have enough income to move out on my own, and there's very few job prospects without a degree, and transferring to a university would have been my primary method.
Simply put, coming to college was the first time that I ever really cared about anything. I was pretty aimless. I didn't really care about my life, my job, and coming to school was the first time where there was responsibility and I had to rise up to meet the challenges that were presented to me.
When I think about the person that I was, or the brain that I was back when I started at Columbia College, I think honestly the thing that drew me here was college afforded me the opportunity to be independent, and that was my primary goal when I started at college. Of course, things have changed along the way, and now college means so much more to me, but at the time it was really about maintaining my independence and forging a pathway to a career and a job that I could work in this rural community.
College meant that I had an opportunity to not only get a head start in my education, but to be able to be in a school environment that felt comfortable and where education mattered.
Coming to college for me was definitely the point where I needed to definitely grow up. From this point forward, I had 2 brothers ahead of me, and they showed me just how much I'm able to be in charge of, all the things I'm able to take advantage of, and they definitely led the way in how I'm supposed to do that. And that very much was a very eye-opening and very fun new step for me, and I can't tell you how much I've been enjoying it and how much I just want to pass that on to everyone else who has the same idea or is a little worried.
So the counselor in me, I feel the need to kind of restate some of the very key things I've pulled from what you all have shared. It's everything from escaping a location and finding ways to create opportunity for yourself, to really going from an area where maybe you had never really found meaning before and apathy to now rising up and rising to that occasion of what responsibility was. And it started out with independence, and then it changed so much more, and now you're in a graduate program and you're also a staff member here at the college too. And Brooke, starting out as a high school student, which you didn't share here, but you really started to try to get ahead on education, and that's really what that started out for you, right? And Pedro, you kind of said that part of what you see is you had examples, and you were trying to kind of live up to that, but also do your own thing. Did I miss something with what you said?
I think everyone who comes to college is trying to do their own thing and make their own story, and so that's very much the last key point I would love to give off to everyone. Despite having those role models and examples in my life, it's very much my story right now. I'm the one who's going to be telling it and writing it out, and that's honestly the best part, because you never know what's going to happen. So definitely don't be afraid to pick up that pen.
Fantastic insight. I think that whoever's in the room and whoever's watching that video can at least connect with one of those things that you've shared. Students can have a wide variety of experiences when they transition to college and come from many different backgrounds. Thinking back, what was the transition to college like for you?
Uneventful, simply put. Since my brother actually had come here some years prior to me, and just coming to college was kind of an expected thing, so I didn't really notice anything significant as far as the transition.
Coming to school and really trying was a dramatic change from the way that I've lived my life. I barely graduated junior high. I shouldn't have graduated high school, but I talked my way into it by a really cool teacher. But I've always been kind of bookish, but really rebellious. So when an instructor asked me to do something, my inclination was just to tell them to go fly a kite. But coming to school obviously meant that I was here and I was invested. So instead of just being rebellious, I worked. That was probably the biggest transformation, learning how to work.
My transition to college, well, first of all, what I love about working with students now is their bravery, their willingness to take risks. That was not something that I experienced when I was a new student here. I was not a traditional student. I didn't come here right after high school. I came here in my late 20s. My parents, or growing up, college was not something that was discussed in our household. Neither of my parents graduated high school. My father has a sophomore level education and my mother just 1 year above that. So it was something that was not really discussed, not encouraged. So after I graduated, I went out into the workforce, and I was encouraged at a later time to come back to school. And I was petrified. I was a night student, and so when I came back, I didn't feel connected to the campus community, not like I am now. So it was a very scary transition. I was self-conscious. I didn't know if I was going to succeed. I didn't know if I was going to pass my classes, if I was going to be able to continue on. I felt like most likely I'll probably drop this in a semester or two. So, I appreciate seeing students now that have clear directions, that have, confidence, that willingness to fail, because it is a very scary thing to come back to school. So, but the scariness wore off, and it became a very warm place and a place that I felt comfortable and continued to try to find new ways to be successful on my own. So, and with the help from staff and faculty, of course.
So Columbia College was the first college campus that I had ever stepped foot on, and it was extremely scary at the ripe age of 15. But I was very lucky enough to be offered a job here, which got me in contact with a lot of people on campus that really aided me in this transition.
The transition to this college was very fun, considering that I came from a small town and everyone knew each other's names and you really got to know your professor. But coming here was much more fun because it was your job to get to know your professor. You had to go out of your way to make those connections and grow wherever it is you wanted to grow. And having this place being so communal and so helpful with everyone, it was really easy to just walk up to any place I wanted to work at and say, can I have a job? And they provided it for you, and from there you meet new people and make new connections, and I very much would love to pass on. Just, it's very easy. It's up to you.
Thank you. Question 3, can you provide an example of an obstacle that you faced when you came to college and how you resolved it?
I'm introverted by nature, and introversion typically is associated with shyness, and that was certainly the case with myself. And that can be kind of an issue if your primary purpose for going to college is for networking, because that requires you to kind of get out of your shell, so to speak. And I didn't really want to do that. So to overcome that, I was at least cognizant and aware that that was going to be an issue very quickly in my endeavors. So I actually looked into on-campus work positions, such as the student ambassadors and the TRiO peer mentors. And those have been a boon for me. A lot of instructors that have seen me when I originally came onto campus have noticed a significant change in my demeanor and how I socialize.
So I just want to clarify, your initial obstacle is really just knowing your personal nature, what comes naturally to you, and your personality style of kind of being shy and not gaining energy by being around other people. You actually sought out jobs that require you to interact, help other students, be peer mentor or student ambassador or both, and the social interaction and that process has totally transformed your experiences as a student.
Yes.
Well, that in itself is really hard, right? If we're shy and we seek out something that we know we're going to have to talk, can you tell us a little bit more about what that was like?
It was very difficult initially. Social interactions are still emotionally and mentally exhausting for me, so that hasn't really gone away, but I am capable of putting up a nice facade, or at least somewhat enjoying it now, despite the fatigue.
Finishing up what he said, I'm in speech and debate. I was in speech and debate, and as this gentleman can tell you, one of the mottos that we have there is fake it till you make it. So as far as even if you're initially frightened by something, believing that you can and at least convincing yourself that it's possible, that's probably the first step that you need to actually accomplish whatever you're doing. But as far as what has been an obstacle that I've faced, I'm fiercely independent by nature. And it's oftentimes difficult for me to take advice from other people or criticism for my work from other people. Fortunately, this has served me very well in debate because I could tell you why you're wrong, but in terms of a relationship with a teacher, I sometimes just have to take a step back and say, yeah, because debating is not always the way to make friends and influence people.
I think an obstacle that I faced when I was a student here was just proximity to the college. I was working, and I was a night student here, and sometimes that left me feeling like disconnected to the college because I think the college does a better job now being open in the evening hours. I think a few years back it wasn't that way. So I remember not being able to have a lot of access to my instructors, and this event always sticks out in my mind. I had a midterm and I had an essay due, and I wasn't comfortable with turning it in. I started to panic, and I reached out to my instructor, and I can't make your office hours. I don't know what to do. And so that panic sets in. Should I just drop the class? You know, I'm not going to be successful. And the instructor said, well, what time is your lunch break at work? So I ended up sitting in my office at my job in Calaveras County, and they held an office hour with me over the phone. And it was like that time that I felt really that my needs were being listened to, and that, okay, this is doable. I just have to reach out and make that accommodation, or ask for help, or somehow be creative to get my needs met as a student. And the instructor was more than willing. And I've found that throughout my education here, that the instructors here are really great at making accommodations for students that were, you know, students that by proximity couldn't get to the college or needed some sort of alternative assistance.
The biggest obstacle that I faced when I started college here was time management. Once I started college, as I said, I received a job here, and then just a few months later, I received another job at a restaurant and landed myself a babysitting gig. And so that was a lot of work. And at this time, I was still in high school. I was still taking 2 classes there and 3 classes here. So that was a lot of homework. And so finding the time to manage all of that and not wearing myself down was really hard. The ways that I resolved this was making a planner and having a schedule so you can visually see what your day looks like every single day and plan with that. And also being able to say no and not overstretching yourself.
I would have to agree with Brooke on the saying no part. I think my biggest obstacle since coming to college was my personal management and the things I wanted to put myself in and with, because I knew once I came to college, everything I did was going to be affected, most importantly to myself. Being a psychology major and a little more of an extrovert myself, all I wanted to do was to help others. But before I can do that, I need to gain my own education. I need to prepare myself with the right tools needed so that I can go out there and be helpful to others. My best way I resolved that was just going out and reaching for help. It's very easy to just go to someone who might be able to introduce you to someone new and make those new connections and gain knowledge from everyone around you. In a place like this, it's so easy and so helpful that everyone wants to do that. These people are working here to help others. And so my best way to overcome that obstacle was to place myself in a position where I can help others. And so I did that through the ambassadors program, the student government, and I can't tell you how much I've learned from it, how much I needed to take away from both my time to others and give it to myself. But all the things in all, it was a great lesson to learn, and this was definitely the best place to learn it, considering how patient everyone is here and all the time they give to you so you can learn you can learn that lesson. I encourage others to not be afraid, go out there.
Okay, question number 4. Did your decision to attend college affect any relationships with your friends and or family at home? If yes, how?
Since I'm introverted, I tend to spend a lot of time alone, and I kind of like it that way. And so now college actually gives me a fairly valid reason not to constantly surround myself with friends and family. So in a way, that's a positive. As far as the relationships go, there hasn't been any real negative impact. I suppose my mother may disagree with that because she rarely sees me these days, so that may not be a boon. But for the most part, there have been nothing but positives from returning to college.
My mom pretty much missed out on being proud of me as a teenager because I just got into a lot of trouble. So even a simple thing like graduating was really important to my family. Neither of my parents graduated from college. Really, no one in my family has ever completed college. So for my brother and I to finally graduate was a huge step forward in what we're capable of doing and what our family believed we were capable of doing. As far as affecting my friends and family, I too tend to be pretty reclusive, and school has given me a reason to be pretty reclusive. Outside of just playing video games for hours on end in my room, I could study for hours on end in my room, but it's actually kind of good and productive instead of being detrimental.
I think this is a great question. Did it affect my friends and family life? Absolutely. It still continues to. I think that one of the words that came to mind when I read this question was sacrifice, and it's something that I think that I talk to students a lot about is just, did I miss out on family vacations? Yes. Girls' nights out? Absolutely. Weekend getaways? Yep. Because I was at home, or am at home doing homework, but it sounds like everyone here has a goal, and when you have a goal that you're truly hoping to achieve, those things, yeah, they can be a bummer, but I think in the end, like, it's worth it, and we know what we have to do, and it's just all about sacrifice. On a positive note, it affected my friends and family in a way that was unexpected to me. It changed my way of thinking, and apart from logistics and missing out on all those cool getaways, I felt like going to school changed my outlook. I saw a bigger picture. I tend to like take things into, and move into a bigger perspective. And maybe that's just the nature of the discipline or my major. But I really feel that going to school changed the way I thought, changed the way I communicated with people. So I think that was very positive. And like I said, looking back 5 years ago, or 6, 7 years ago, totally different person.
They were extremely supportive of my decision. If you haven't already guessed, I'm from Australia. So when I told my family there, they were just a little unsure on like why I would leave high school, like the traditional high school, to come here and get a different education. They also, like, we don't have community colleges there. There's not even such thing as an associate's degree. So trying to explain that process and like what I was going through was really kind of difficult to them.
Regarding relationships, at home, I kind of more consider this place also a new home of myself. I've been able to grow very much with the people around here, with the student life, and the student life was what caught me, which was the biggest revealer to me, because at a community college, you have a lot of students who are both underage and in high school pursuing a career. They already know what they want to do, and then you'll have students in high school who just graduated who are still uncertain as to what it is their goals are. And having this place is so beautiful because it allows them to take time to understand themselves and grow. And then you even get students who are much older who have come back, and the transition here is was, personally, for my personal relationship, was a new start. And I see that a lot with a lot of people when they come here. Learning to say no was more difficult because you do have those old connections back at your original home. And they want to reach out to you, they want to speak to you, but you're on this new journey now, and it's not the same you're not the same person. You can't live your life the same way. And when you meet new people, they obviously want to give you all these new adventures to go on. And having such a diverse group here leads to so many opportunities and so many exciting new things to try. And when you get caught up in it, you very much want to live and learn, but you have to first take part in yourself and learn yourself and experience things for yourself so that you can be better off. And I very much had to learn to say no to those things that were going to be harmful to myself, despite the fact that I had people who were close to me who very much started a new lifestyle that wasn't going to be healthy for me in the long run. And I knew very much, I knew from experience, and I knew from the people I learned to really admire and grow fond of, that I wouldn't want them to see me doing that. And it did hurt to see them doing that to themselves. And when you can't tell them or you can't make them say no themselves, you have to learn to do it for yourself. And so saying no for myself was a very hard but very important decision I had to do.
What would you advise other students to do with backgrounds similar to your own?
For the most part, don't really second guess yourself, or in my case, myself. I'm starting to notice a theme here that a lot of my experiences in college has been more about personal development and introspection than it has been the actual course content that I've been exposed to. That seems to be the biggest thing that I've noticed. And following on that, people don't really bite physically anyway. The more social experiences you have, increases your sample size and makes the overall average of all that bad stuff not really that bad anymore, and it ceases to really be such a big deal.
This is probably my favorite question out of everything that we've received. The first thing I would tell someone, I would pass on to them some ancient wisdom. One must have chaos within oneself to give birth to a dancing star. I myself have always been filled with turmoil, the same reasons that I was suspended from school and nearly kicked out of school. That same kind of energy, that is what I used to fuel my studying late at night when I didn't want to. That same kind of intensity and passion that can be really harmful can also be pretty positive. In a metaphor, the same kind of nuclear energy that can power a city can level a city. And it's up to the individual to decide which one they're going to use their energy and passion for.
So one thing that I hear from students, and I've felt myself, is the feeling of being overwhelmed. And so for me, setting really large, lofty goals was just not healthy for me. So I learned that I had to take my I had to celebrate the small achievements instead of really looking at the future and looking at it in this way that I've got to do this and this and this to get here. Sometimes it was just passing a class or completing an assignment. And I heard this from Pedro and Brooke about setting boundaries, knowing what's too much, knowing where I need to say, okay, no, this is enough for me right now, and I'll just have to wait to tackle that at another time. So sometimes setting small boundaries is just as good as having those really large, lofty goals.
I would tell people to just do it. Like, you're not going to regret something that gets you ahead in life. It is always more scary than it actually is. You always overthink things, and then the reality is not as bad as you usually expect it. And also get help when you need it. Like, especially Columbia College has some of like the best student resources that I know of. Like, with anything, if it's your schoolwork, or if it's your personal life, if it's transfer stuff, like money management, like they have it all. Yeah, just create a good network so that whenever you have any of those issues, you know what person you should talk to.
My biggest thing I could give to anyone regarding this question is just ask lots of questions. It doesn't really matter who you're talking to, you can learn something from someone, even if it's a little random and out there, it's still going to be helpful for maybe something in the future, and if not, you know a new piece of knowledge and that's not going to harm you in any way. There's plenty of people who work in establishments just like this because they want to see students succeed, so you're not going to really harm yourself, and the people who are here because they want to learn. College isn't something mandatory, you pay tuition, so kind of goes to show that people are here because they want to be.
Question 6, what experiences that you had prior to college prepared you to excel in ways that you wouldn't have anticipated at the time?
For the most part, once I graduated high school, I spent a lot of time doing, we call it fire prevention specialist, which is basically lot clearing. So I just break up leaves and carry it up 90-degree hills all day, and that really sucked. It was poor pay, it was hot, and being self-employed, I really don't like it. In contrast to the rest of my family, that's all they do. That acted as the basis of motivation for why I wanted to return to begin with, and is really the driving force that's going to lead me through and achieve my goals, is because I don't want to go back to that kind of work.
When I was young, my mother used to read to me for most of my childhood, and language has played such an important role in my life. I just love language. I love hearing people talk. I love reading. I'm so inspired and moved by the way that words can be arranged to have meaning and to resonate with people. So just a deep appreciation, a profound respect for the power and the craft of the English language, of all language, is probably the first way that I've had preparation for my education. And the second was talking my way out of trouble and arguing with people. I remember also as a child being very frustrated that I was disregarded because of my age. I was a pretty confident and argumentative teenager too, and I actually had the ability to explain myself pretty well. So having the ability to articulate what I believed and having the willingness and the drive to express myself, that has probably prepared me in ways that I still haven't even begun to realize yet.
I guess the most impactful experience was just, I think just being out in the workforce for a good decade before I came to school just really helped me be disciplined. It helped me communicate a little bit better with people than maybe I didn't have great communication skills coming out of high school with people. So I think just working allowed me to be really invested in my education because I was kind of already invested in my life. So I think that was probably the biggest thing. I think also, this is something small, but it did come up in when answering this question. I had a hobby. I had already kind of like created my own interest at the time, and I had, did a lot of outdoor stuff, and so I think that just helped me kind of find a balance. So when I came here, I didn't feel like it was all school or all work. I had a balance of like personal time and work time and school time, and that's hard to do. So, but I think already having that established helped me be a little bit more sane when I was here.
I was lucky enough to have a family that really encouraged education. So throughout my elementary school and high school, I was in honors and AP classes, and this really helped me when I came to college, especially with the workload. It was still a lot more, but it wasn't as unfamiliar as some people just coming straight from high school. And just having like a love for learning, it really helped coming to college because it's just such a different environment. Like everyone here is paying to be here, so they want to learn, and the instructors are a lot more passionate about their subjects because they're just teaching the one subject and they've studied this like for a very long time. So being able to be in a classroom where everyone wanted to be there and with a teacher that really was passionate really helped.
Coming to college, I wasn't in the exact same position Brooke was. I did struggle in school, and it was very hard. And there were times where I lost lots of relationships because the way you behave and the way you act when you come to college. I think one of the best things that prepared me for it was just the reflecting on the mistakes and really owning up to them and realizing exactly what it was that caused them and like building off of that. Because yes, it was unfortunate, but you really can get some resilience from that. And coming to a place like this where everything is on you and you make the decisions and there's no coming back from it because there's no summer. There are summer classes, but you're only using up your time and money. And when you think of people who really vouch for you, like your mother and stuff, I have one that is very, very, very supportive. Sometimes a little too supportive, but all that stuff comes back. And I think the best thing kind of I did not anticipate at the time, was just how right she was about everything.
Thank you guys so much for your insight and your thought to each question. Is there anything that you would like to add to anything that you've shared so far that's come up for you that you'd like to share with any of our current students in the room or the future students who will see this video?
I have something to say. It's never too late. The first time I enrolled here at Columbia College, I got all Fs. The second time I tried college, I got all Fs and a D. So academic renewal is your friend. And for that, I'd like to thank my counselor, Matt Wool, for letting me know that there's always still a chance, that just because you've done pretty poorly in the past, it's truly never too late. So no matter what hole you've gotten yourself into, you can do it.
Like learning to love education is something I think anyone is capable of doing. And I think especially when you're around a place like a school, it's going to be like the main focus of everyone there. And I love the fact that both of you guys mentioned the whole loving to learn, and it's never too late because you see students who are in their 80s going for it, and it's like, you know what, I can do it too.
I'd just like to encourage working on campus. I think it is absolutely amazing. The people that you work with are students just like you, so the conversations that you have are about school, which helps a lot, keeps you focused. And just working here is awesome, being able to help the students with anything they need. I just think it's a great environment and a great opportunity.
I was a student here and I did not participate in any special programs. And so when I became a staff member, it was like a whole new world that I didn't know existed at the college. And I just have to say, the students that I see that are involved in special programs, and I'm not biased, I am a little bit, but I think it just makes a world of difference for students to remain connected to each other and then other staff members, have a place to go where they belong and really feel accepted. So, and special programs is not the only resource on campus. I think Brooke mentioned, using like the math lab, the AAC, all the support services, and how much our small college does to promote and market those resources. I feel like kind of embarrassed that I didn't know about them when I was a student here. Maybe it was just I had blinders on, I'm not sure. But I feel like in today's campus environment, I don't know how you could know about them at this point, because I think everybody here does such a great job to get the word out. Because it really is just a tool. It's not a cure-all, but it's just a great tool to have in your toolbox.
So I really appreciate, again, everyone's feedback. And when we had been planning this event, we started talking about it about a year ago. One of my colleagues had asked if I would share any of my own background at this event, and I kept debating probably not to, just because it's, it's just you guys and we want to hear from you. But so much of what you've said resonated with me, and I personally connect with so much of what you've shared from my own experiences as a student, but also now as a counselor, and hearing what my students go through. And so I'm just going to briefly share a small piece because I think it helps kind of tie some of the threads that you've all mentioned. And so that's where, if you see a counselor, you probably usually assume someone who had it easy. You may look at me and have assumptions about, whatever, you're a professional now, there was never any before. And, I was the first person in my family to go to college. My mom had not graduated high school. I was born and raised on a small reservation in the middle of nowhere. And I was told basically, good luck with college when I finally decided I even learned about it. And to actually go to college and then get kicked out and told I was not college material and have to work a lot and try to go back and finish it. You mentioned that chaos inside of you, and that's definitely something I used for myself. Energy that fueled all the anger and things I'd had, experiences from the foster care system to being raised on a reservation and not feeling like I had options. I never gave up, and I used tools of resiliency. At that time I didn't know that language, but we all have natural strengths of survival, and finding something that changes apathy to passion, whether it's anger or whatever your motivation is to move forward, you absolutely can. And in my experiences, I used to walk past UC Davis after I had been kicked out and told I wasn't college material, after working 2 shifts in restaurants in the day and having my feet ache and not knowing why am I not good enough to go there? Why is this happening? It doesn't seem fair. And I think so many of my students who end up in front of me, they have things in their life that seem not fair. And the odds seem stacked against you at times, and whatever obstacles are there, everyone, regardless of their background, first generation, low income, having a disability of some kind, having been in the foster care system, it doesn't matter what that obstacle, even if those are something else, you absolutely can persevere. And our students here are persevering. They are overcoming those odds or their previous experiences. Doesn't matter if you have the most disadvantaged background or not, everyone has an obstacle. Everyone has their own situation that's relative. But if you could use your motivation and your fuel to that fire to move forward, whatever has happened to you, there is no limit that you can reach. And I did get back into Davis, and it was a whole crazy process, but I was in a deep hole that I had amazing counselors to help guide me, and special programs at a community college I'd been going to, counselors who actually helped motivate me to even want to be a counselor, to help others. And then I did graduate Davis, and then I went into a master's program, and now I'm somehow almost halfway through a doctorate program. So it is absolutely possible to accomplish anything that you set your mind to. There is no limit too far, but it is about what's a reasonable goal. And it is about knowing what's your natural tendency, your natural strength, and putting yourself in positions where you can grow, like what you mentioned, Phil. Knowing where you have gaps and making it better, and knowing how to manage your time and not take on the world. I still struggle with that. And so it's not trying to be preachy at all, but just everything that you all have shared. I see students in my office every day who could benefit from your lessons, for what you've done and how much growth you've all personally experienced so far, and that this is just the beginning. That's so exciting to see what you guys are going to do next.
So, Mr. Costello, I understand by your bonus statement that you had had not the smoothest transition from a bitter, apathetic rebel to an invested scholar. So, there are other students I understand who are not quite invested in the school as they could be. But to become a better student, is there something specific that helped you become an invested scholar of such?
Yes, John. John is my friend from debate, and I think the thing that brought us together is probably the thing that I would recommend to other students like me. Invest in something. For me, the very first time that I came back to Columbia, the first class that I took was speech and debate. So I was competing on the speech and debate team. And that was the first time in my life that I was challenged and that I was held to a standard, held to a very high standard that through hard work I was able to meet. but having something that was a goal outside of just getting a degree, a goal that was fun and that had meaning to me. So whether it's football or getting involved in whatever club or doing any other thing, like having something that you're working towards, climbing a hill and loving it.
You all have mentioned, well, some of you have mentioned multiple roles and responsibilities. How do you balance?
First off, check your emails like twice a day. There's a lot of them, but that's the first thing you gotta do. Get yourself a planner, keep yourself in contact with your professors, use the planner, and I'll pass it on.
Yeah, planner, organize things in advance to like fall schedules out, start looking at that, and then just like knowing what events you have coming up and being able to like prepare yourself for it. Like say, like this week I had this, I have a test, I have a speech, so I'm like, okay, work, I can only work like 3 days for you this week. And being able to balance stuff like that, it is difficult, it's not gonna be easy, but to be able to keep your mental sanity and physical well-being, it's something that you have to do.
Unlike some of the students probably up here, I think my schedule's a little bit more fixed, so I feel like right now, the thing that keeps me on track is designating certain hours of the day for things or certain days of the week and just sticking to that plan. Like, nope, Saturday is booked. I have a full day of studying and there's just nothing going to deter me from just, that's what I'm doing. So for balance, for me, is just designating time and sticking with it. And there's no getting around it. No one's going to convince me otherwise.
Balancing for me was probably just learning to do my homework while I'm watching television. Just doing what's asked of you. I probably wait towards the last minute to do assignments. That's just how I am, and I definitely wouldn't recommend that, but if you can pull it off, then I'm sure that people will just balance fine.
Understanding your limitations is probably a big one. Most people have a personal, a work, and a school life, usually. I could be wrong. But the important thing is school, certain subjects may be more insurmountable than others. And your unit load can have a big part of that as well. So to balance that, you need to understand what your limitations are, what kind of work you're doing, and really what your ultimate goals are as far as your specific subjects. If you know you're struggle with a common one is math, then maybe you don't want to take 15 units that semester, in addition to working 20 hours a week. Yeah.
Being a student is not always what you see in a movie, like frat house parties and all that, right? I mean, I don't know, a lot of us have to work and do all these things, and there are those moments of fun and, letting go, but being a student is hard work, right? And you have to go into a state where you don't know material, and you're getting graded and evaluated on how fast can you learn this material, how fast and how well can you read and learn it, and then you have to show that in some way. You're in a constant state of being aware that you don't know what you're supposed to know, right? You're consciously aware that you're kind of incompetent about a subject. That's not an easy place to be, especially if you're a control freak like me. But then it is hard. It is hard to not know and be aware. These are all the things I don't know and I've got to study. There's anxiety and stress. Now you can use that stress as a motivator to study and actually go seek out services, or you can let it overwhelm you and consume you. You're experiencing what it's like to be a vulnerable student who is always learning, and that learning is not always easy. And you have other things happening in life. Thank you guys so much for your insight and your thought to each question. And I hope you all know that you're wonderful examples for all of your peers wherever you end up next and while you're still here.
Okay, we're done. Thank you guys.